Every offseason, NFL teams have to make a series of decisions about their roster. Beyond just figuring out the right pieces to plug and play from an X's and O's perspective, there's a whole nother challenge: balancing the books. And, well, the hard truth for players is that the salary cap and its associated taxes and all does not care about your legacy or your Pro Bowl selections. Doesn't care that you were the face of the franchise 2 years ago, or that you stand to make $1 billion if the team were to keep you going forward. No, it only cares about the numbers. And now, with how aggressive teams have been in subverting the cap, almost half of the league is projected to be over the salary cap heading into the 2026 offseason. That means cuts are a-coming. Big ones. We're talking names that you know. Brandon Aiyuk, wide receiver, San Francisco 49ers. Let's start this off with one of the messiest situations currently in the NFL, and the safest bet on this list. So, Brandon Aiyuk signed a 4-year, $120 million extension in August of 2024 after a contentious holdout that nearly resulted in trades to Cleveland, New England, and Pittsburgh. Well, 7 games later, he tore his ACL, MCL, and meniscus. He hasn't played a snap ever since. During the 2025 season, Aiyuk stopped communicating with the 49ers entirely. He missed rehabilitation sessions, missed meetings, cut off contact with coaches, and the team voided his $27 million in 2026 guarantees. Then, they placed him on the reserve list, essentially ending any possibility of return. When all is said and done, the 49ers will have paid Aiyuk $48 million on his latest deal for 7 games, 25 receptions, and 374 yards. One of the biggest contract disasters in NFL history. No wonder he's already all but gone. Kyler Murray, quarterback, Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is a very competent NFL starter. He's good when he's clicking, but not quite elite or franchise cornerstone. And I think it's clear that he's fallen out of favor in Arizona over the last couple of years. The Cardinals can avoid $19.5 million in guaranteed money for his 2027 base salary if they move on by mid-March of 2026. Reports already suggest that Arizona is exploring options to move on this offseason. Of course, they would prefer to trade him, but it doesn't seem like teams are really lining up to take on his contract. So don't be shocked if they rip the band-aid off and finally decide that the two are better off as friends going forward. Kenny Clark, defensive tackle, Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys acquired Kenny Clark as a part of the dubious Micah Parsons trade, and, well, now they're stuck with the bill. Clark was productive enough in 2025, solid against the run, and created some interior pressure. But here's the problem. The Cowboys are paying $63 million combined to 3 defensive tackles next season. Clark, Quinnen Williams, and Osa Odigizua all carry cap hits north of $20 million. That is an absurd allocation for one position group on a team that finished with a bottom 5 defense. Clark turns 31 in October. His $21.5 million cap hit has 0 guaranteed money remaining. Cutting him saves every penny of that immediately, with no dead cap acceleration. Oh, yeah, you can probably lock this one in, especially if he's not willing to restructure his deal. Calvin Ridley, wide receiver, Tennessee Titans. It's been a rough go of it for Calvin Ridley in Tennessee. Just 1,320 receiving yards and just 4 touchdowns across 24 games in the Titans uniform. Then came the broken fibula in November of 2025 that ended his season early. Ridley will turn 32 in December. He is firmly in the declining years of his career, coming off a significant leg injury, and his timeline no longer aligns with Tennessee's rebuild under new head coach Robert Saleh. This might be the most obvious decision that the Titans make all offseason. Cutting Ridley saves $13.43 million in cap space immediately. But it gets even better because Tennessee also gets $27.25 million in cap relief in 2027. That is over $40 million in total savings across 2 years for a receiver who hasn't looked like himself since 2021. Robert Saleh is going to be looking to build something new in Nashville, and I think it's very safe to say that Ridley is a casualty of that process. Jawan Taylor, offensive tackle, Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have the worst projected cap situation in the NFL. They are $60 million in the red for 2026. Jawan Taylor's $20 million cap hit is probably the most obvious target here. Kansas City is already paying Jalen Moore $15 million to be a swing tackle. Taylor has been inconsistent at best. The offensive line struggles were very evident throughout the season, contributing to their early playoff exit. Cutting Taylor eliminates 1/3 of their cap deficit immediately here. So, the Chiefs really have no choice. Patrick Mahomes needs protection, but not at this price from this player. Kirk Cousins, quarterback, Atlanta Falcons. When Kirk signed that big deal a couple years back, it immediately raised some eyebrows. Even before the Falcons inexplicably drafted Michael Penix Jr. with the 8th overall pick 6 weeks later. Then, it hit a whole nother level. It was the most head-scratching quarterback situation in recent memory. Pay a 36-year-old coming off a torn Achilles $180 million guaranteed, and then immediately draft his replacement in the first round? Yeah, expectedly, it only went downhill from there. There have been rumors around his departure since he lost his spot to Penix, but now that the Falcons have restructured his contract to facilitate the release, I think it's imminent. His 2026 base salary dropped from $35 million to $2.1 million, with $67.9 million becoming guaranteed if he's still on the roster by March 13th. Which, spoiler alert, he won't be. Lattimore, cornerback, Washington Commanders. The Commanders traded 3rd, 4th, and 6th round picks for Lattimore in November of 2024, receiving a 5th rounder back along with the cornerback. They thought they were getting the final piece needed for a Super Bowl push. They got a liability instead. In just 9 games with Washington before tearing his ACL, Lattimore allowed a 95.6 quarterback rating in coverage with 11 penalties committed. Was supposed to upgrade the secondary. Instead, he became the weak link opposing quarterbacks targeted at will. Lattimore is owed $26.5 million in 2026 with an $18.5 million guarantee that kicks in on the 5th day of the league year. If Washington releases him before that date, they save $16 million in cap space. That is just a no-brainer. The Commanders, they're moving on. Elgton Jenkins, center, Green Bay Packers. 2-time Pro Bowl guard and one of the most versatile linemen in all football. After all, he was the guy that the Packers moved to center last offseason because they trusted him to anchor the offensive line. Well, Jenkins found some success at the new position before suffering a fractured fibula in Week 10 that ended his season. Look, the man is 30 years old. He has an extensive injury history, including a previous torn ACL, and carries a $24.8 million cap hit in 2026. Plus, he has no guaranteed money left on his deal. The Packers are over $30 million in the red, and cutting Jenkins saves Green Bay $20 million. Yeah, seems like a business decision will have to be made here. A.J. Brown, WR, Philadelphia Eagles. This one might be the most explosive situation in the entire league right now. A.J. Brown had a down year by his standards in 2025, and he was not quiet about it. Career lows and touchdowns for his time in Philly. Sideline altercation with Nick Sirianni during the wildcard game that went viral. A critical drop in the playoff loss to the 49ers. Vibes in Philadelphia have been absolutely rancid. And multiple insiders expect the Eagles to at least consider trading Brown this offseason. Now, technically, a trade isn't the same as a cut, but the Eagles can save $7 million on the cap by moving him after June 1st. And given how contentious things have gotten between Brown and the coaching staff, it wouldn't shock anyone to see these two sides part ways. Even if it means the Eagles have to cut one of the best receivers in football when he's locked in. It's still unclear whether what played out last year was on him, the coaches, or both, but man, something has to change. Malik Hooker, safety, Dallas Cowboys. Malik Hooker has been a reliable starter for Dallas since 2021. 53 games started, made calming presence in the secondary. But reliable doesn't mean valuable when you're $29 million over the cap and you have a new defensive coordinator in Christian Parker who's installing his own system and bringing in his guys. Keeping a declining 30-year-old at premium prices doesn't fit that plan. Dallas can draft his replacement and use the savings to address actual needs. Hooker's been a good Cowboy, but good isn't good enough when the cap demands sacrifice. Alvin Kamara, running back, New Orleans Saints. Alvin Kamara has been the heart of the Saints offense for years. 6 Pro Bowls, one of the most dynamic receiving backs of his generation. But he's 30 years old, entering a season where New Orleans desperately needs cap relief. The Saints have been in cap hell for years now, constantly kicking the can down the road with restructures and void years. Cutting Kamara saves $8.5 million. Yeah, it's not a massive number, but for a team that needs to rebuild around a young quarterback, it's meaningful. Kamara's best days are now behind him, and the Saints need to look forward. Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker, Chicago Bears. Tremaine Edmonds signed a 4-year, $72 million contract with Chicago in 2023. He was supposed to be the centerpiece of Matt Eberflus's defense. The two-time Pro Bowler has been, well, he's been fine in Chicago. I mean, he's durable, athletic, and he makes tackles, but he's also the third highest paid linebacker in football and really hasn't produced at that level. Edmonds missed the final 4 games of 2025 with a groin injury. And when he did play, he tied a career high with 4 interceptions, showing flashes of the playmaker Buffalo thought they had. But you know, flashes do not justify $17.4 million. Cutting Edmonds saves the Bears roughly $15 million with just $2.4 million in dead cap. For a team trying to build around Caleb Williams and stay competitive in the NFC North, that money goes further elsewhere. Josh Jacobs, running back, Green Bay Packers. Josh Jacobs signed a 4-year deal with the Packers that included a $12.5 million signing bonus. He was supposed to be the bell cow that powered Jordan Love's offense. Only problem? The Packers are in salary cap hell, and running backs are very expendable. Jacobs carries a $11.4 million cap hit in 2026. Cutting him saves significant money with just $6.25 million in dead cap acceleration. Green Bay needs every last dollar to retain young talent and address actual needs. At 28, Jacobs still has tread on the tires, but the Packers may be looking to get younger and cheaper at the position. Rashan Gary, edge, Green Bay Packers. Rashan Gary was the 12th overall pick in 2019. He developed into a legitimate pass-rushing threat by 2022 before tearing his ACL. He came back, made the Pro Bowl in 2024, and seemed ready to dominate alongside newly acquired Micah Parsons in 2025. Then, Parsons tore his ACL, and Gary completely disappeared. He had 7.5 sacks through his first 7 games and 0 sacks the rest of the season. Yeah, 0. His effort became visibly questionable, jogging to the quarterback instead of finishing plays while wearing the captain's patch. The tape is damning. Gary had a $28 million cap hit in 2026, the second highest on the roster. So releasing him after June 1st saves $19.5 million. For a player who seemed to stop trying, or at a bare minimum was ineffective without a superstar to open up opportunities for him, I think this is an easy call. Gary is gone. But hey, which players are you most surprised to see on this list? Who do you think has the best chance of landing somewhere great? What do you think we got right here? What do you think we got wrong? Was there anyone that we may have missed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.